Dorothy Thompson here at Schmidt-Woodland Hills, where we're looking at and admiring the new flower bed. And our show today. Oops. It's a bit windy. We're going to find out about airplanes. The Richland Airport is our subject. We're going to head down to the Richland Airport, sometimes called the Sextonville Airport, to talk with Mike Kaufman about an airport update.
We're at the Richland Airport with Mike Kaufman. You've been around for a long time here flying.
Yeah, well over 50 years
50?
At this airport.
And how many planes have you had?
This is airplane number 12 that I've owned.
12?
Yeah, so I've owned 12 of them. I got one other one that I bought after this, which I still have as well, and that one only can land in the water.
Okay.
So we don't have it here at this time.
And what are those called?
That's called a float plane.
Float plane.
Yeah.
And those have those,
Long,
whatever they're called.
yeah, you can call them pontoons, but actually they're called floats.
Floats.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about this one here first. This seats 4. It's a
Yes.
Beechcraft, I see.
Yeah, Beechcraft Bonanza.
Where are those made?
They're made in Wichita, and they're still being made. This airplane here I have owned for 34 years. So it's been around my family for a long time.
And Beechcraft, I've seen those in movies made in the early 60s even. So
That's
did they
correct.
start as military and then move to private planes? Or how
Well, this particular model was first built in the late 1940s. And I'm going to say, I believe it was 46, 47. And they're still in production today. They've changed a lot over the years. A new one is just about $1 million.
$1 million.
Yeah.
And this is what year?
This one is a 1962.
62. Well, they age well.
Well, they age very well. You got to take care of them, and they will age very well.
Well, it's kind of like a Mercedes. The style doesn't change
Yeah.
a lot. Of course,
Yeah.
in an airplane, you can't change drastically.
Yeah, no, you can't. The aerodynamics are the same.
Yep.
The new airplanes have the same wing on them. They're a little bit larger inside, but that's about the scoop of it.
Okay. All right. Can we take a look inside? I've never been in here.
Okay, well, we'll jump up in the cockpit, and I'll fire up some of the avionics, and we can go ahead and explain some of the things that we have in light aircraft today.
So
It's in a way it's kind of amazing because we have some of the things more up to date than what the airliners have.
really?
Yes.
Wow. Well, you said jump, so we got to do this.
Okay.
So this is the one way to get in then?
This is the only way.
The only way?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Don't film yourself getting in. Grab onto the handhold,
Yep.
and I'll just move this stuff inside here. So you'll want to step all the way down, Ben.
All right.
There, that's it, all the way. And there you're in.
All right.
And just slide into position there.
Yep.
And I'll go ahead and I'll just fire this up because this is what we kind of do in our flying today, a little bit different than a lot of people might imagine. And so that up here, and it will fire this stuff up.
And this is going to show us what then?
This is going to show us a map. It's going to show us different things that we'll be looking at here.
So Garmin makes quite a few. I've got one for my car, and then they make one for semis, and they make one for planes.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, over the years, did you have to just swap out all of this technology?
Yeah, there is hardly a thing in this airplane that was in here when I bought it 34 years ago. And this is pretty much as modern as you're going to go ahead and get. There are some interesting things from nostalgia that I kept in here over the period of time for the updates. For example, one of the things that we have in here is we have a navigator and an autopilot. And this airplane is capable of flying some very long distances. In fact, my longest distance traveled was from Boeing Field in Seattle, Washington, all the way back to Lone Rock without stopping. And that was needless a long trip. The airplane has 9 hours of fuel on board, and the approximate speed is right around 200 miles an hour. And it's great transportation.
How many hours did that take?
That was 7 hours and 20 minutes from Seattle back here.
Now, was 200 what you chose, or is that the max?
200 is the maximum cruising speed.
Okay.
And as you fly higher, and of course one of the things that we learn with airplanes, whether it's an airline or any airplane, the wind has a very big factor in the speed of the airplane. And we probably saw on an average speed of 250 miles an hour coming back.
And you would have all that information about the wind direction and speed on here?
All of this information is brought to you here via all these computers that we have on board.
Now, are some of these analogs the original?
Those are all original gauges, yeah. And they do just fine.
So you still use these, they're not just for nostalgia?
Oh no, they're not for nostalgia.
Okay.
Probably the only thing that is kind of for nostalgia is this device down here. It's called an ADF, and what it does is it listens to regular AM radio stations, for example, our local WRCO, and we can pick that up and then we can home on that. So this needle that we have actually over here actually points at the radio station. We actually have, I think there's 4 or 5 GPSs in this airplane, all total. And so that's the navigation. Just point out, we have traffic. And if you want to zoom in on this, I don't know if you can get there. There's an airplane there. There's traffic. This is another airplane right here. And if I want to find out who he is, I just tap on him I'm sorry, I missed them. I'll try it again. And there it is. That's an airliner at 39,000 feet, tells you all the information. So we have all this information on board the aircraft as we're flying. A lot of people think that these light airplanes are just little flivvers and they're not modern, they're not up to date. This here is showing the track of the flight. I just came back, and this is showing all the obstacles that would be in my way. For example, towers, terrain, anything like that. We get all kinds of warnings. Little voices come on and tell us if we're too low, if we're going to run into something. And so there's all kinds of little voices. And then, of course, sometimes you have passengers in the back seat that are children, and so they are always kind of interested in knowing when they're going to get there.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And so we have this button.
Are we there yet? No. Are we there yet?
No.
Do that again.
Are we there yet? No. Are we there yet?
No.
That was taken from one of our vacations, I think.
Yeah.
So do you mainly fly, they used to say as the crow flies, but as I say as the drone flies, just kind of as straight as possible?
Pretty much, and you can do that pretty much anywhere in the country except in the Northeast. The Northeast is very structured as far as where traffic goes. For example, from New York to about Washington, D.C., up in the Boston area, and that area, that area is a little more difficult to fly in as far as traffic goes.
Well, there's a lot of traffic.
Yeah, and so that's one of the items here. We're looking at some maps here, looking at other aircraft here that we're picking on up, and we can zoom on the maps. This is, by the way, is an iPad with a special equipment. Each one of these little marks right here is an airplane. I'm surprised we are picking them up in the hangar, but we are getting them. And there's a Delta Airlines Flight 1357 at 35,000 feet. And so we can just tap on it. We can bring up weather on one screen. We can bring up traffic on another. We can bring up terrain on another. So again, very sophisticated from what a lot of people believe a light airplane is like.
Well, we talked about this before I started filming here, and I said, like, if I wanted to go from here to O'Hare to catch a jet from, let's say, from O'Hare to Florida, what do you have to do first to let them know that you are on your way to ORD?
Yeah, you file a flight plan, and that's actually done right here on this pad. We can go ahead and call it on up and file a flight plan, and then, of course, as soon as we take off, we'll be working with air traffic control.
Does it have to be approved first, and they let you know?
They go ahead, and if the flight plan is approved, either or with some changes, it automatically sends you the text message back telling you that that your flight plan was approved, or that this is the route that you can expect. And then you go to this box, you program in the flight plan as it's given to you, and you flip on a couple of buttons and the airplane flies itself.
Do you usually do the autopilot, as I call it, for longer flights? Or
for longer flights, yeah. Yeah, usually anything over about 15 minutes or so, I'll put the autopilot on for a little while.
How long would it take from here to Chicago, for example?
I think it would be maybe 45 minutes.
Oh boy, is that nice.
Yeah. So, yeah. And speed-wise, it all depends on the wind. For example, Lakeland, Florida, which is halfway between Orlando and Tampa, my record speed is 4 hours and 50 minutes nonstop. My longest, by the way, is 7 hours and 15 minutes, so it does vary with the wind.
Wow. You can't change the wind by changing anything, really. The altitude.
Sometimes changing the altitude can either give you a little bit of advantage, but it doesn't make the wind blow in the opposite direction.
No gauge here can do that.
No. Yeah.
Well, that's great. I think I should buy one of these, except, they're $1 million.
Well, for a new one anyway.
Yeah.
And the new one's even more sophisticated than this. Yeah. There's all types of computerized voices available as well.
So you don't have the full amenities like drinks and lunch and.
No, but we usually carry a couple bottles of water
Yeah.
with us and that for the trip.
Okay. Well, what else do we have? Is that about it for now? We can go look at the hangar too.
Yeah. We can go look at the hangar. We can go look at the terminal building.
All right. Perfect. Let's see if I can get out of here.
Okay.
Well, I guess I wouldn't have to. I mean, I wouldn't want to do this if I had to get out of here in 5 seconds, but I made it so far. All right.
And just grab right here.
All right. There we go.
There, that's good.
Whoops.
We got her. She
All right.
won't go anywhere.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about the fuel a little bit too?
Sure.
Why is this design better than like a garage door type?
I suppose because it's such a long span
Ah, okay.
and really works out well. It's a very nice hangar. I can point out that the hangars here were built with the funds from the gas tax that there is on airplane fuel.
Okay.
So the city of Richland Center is responsible for 5% of the cost of any airport improvements, and there is 90% federal funding, and then there's 5% from the state. And the state administers this, and that's how we happen to get the new hangars. This is how we got the new fuel farm. This is how we got the new terminal building, the blacktop runway. All of these things come from the state federal funding, 95%, and then 5% is done with local funds.
Weren't those, let's see, quite a few years ago you had an open house for these hangars, I think.
Yes, we did. I can't even remember how many years ago these were built. They're heated, they're insulated, and of course you pay for your own heat, and then you pay rent to the city. And so the city, over the period of time, has already recovered the 5% that they've spent on building these hangars.
So heated means anything above 32 Fahrenheit or like 40? Is that a good?
We can put it 70 degrees in here if we would like to
Okay.
in the wintertime.
But that's probably not necessary.
Not usually.
Okay.
Most of the time it's for storage.
And when was, I think, the new building, the new the terminal
building.
that would have been within the last 5 years, I think.
Yes.
Much needed.
Yes, much needed. We had the absolute worst terminal building of any airport in the entire state of Wisconsin.
The worst.
The worst. Absolutely.
Ice on the inside of the windows.
Yes.
If there were windows, but yeah.
Yeah.
It was embarrassing.
You could hardly afford to heat it.
It was a dump, let's put it that way.
But it was old, and it served its purpose.
Well, should we head over there?
Sure, we will.
Good. We don't have to go with this door anymore. We just use...
We'll go out the little door. I'm going to grab my iPad and my
All right.
cell phone. That way I don't have to come back and get in here.
So how many are in this unit?
There's 6 hangars in this unit.
Okay.
Yeah.
All the same size?
They're all the same size. Some might be a foot or two bigger, but pretty doggone close to the same size.
And this is your taxiing?
This is the taxiway that we're on here. And then we have signage up here, and it shows the numbers of the 2 runways. The runways are lined up according to magnetic north. So if you're taking off to the south, it's almost straight south. It's 170 degrees, and of course the straight south would be 180, and north would be 360. So this is runway 1735. And we have the blacktop runway, and it's in good shape. And as I had mentioned earlier, you know, there's projects that go on as far as the state and the federal, and they'll be doing a resurfacing probably within the next several years on the runway and on the taxiways.
Okay, I'm mixed up with my directions right now. Where's north?
North is to our left.
Okay.
And south is to our right. And some more things here that we can go ahead and show you about the airport here as we will drive on over. And the lights at the airport here are what we call pilot controlled, and that means that a pilot in the airplane has the capability of going ahead and turning on the runway lights while they're in flight. Like when I came in here to land, there's also a glide slope, and if you look off here to the left, I'm going to turn around here so you can get it out of that side, and you'll see a couple of interesting looking devices here on the side of the runway. And what that does is it tells the pilot whether he is low or high as he's coming in to land on this runway. Those lights right there, so the pilot turns those on, and if he sees a red light and a white light, he is right on path. If he sees 2 white lights, he's too high. If he sees 2 red lights, he's too low.
So the pilot flips a switch in the plane.
Right on the radio, and it turns those on.
Wow.
Yeah. Also, we can turn on the runway lights at night so that the airport is not spending a lot of money going ahead and having the lights on very bright at night. And so that's another item there that you can control from the airplane.
Can you turn these runway lights on remotely?
Yes.
From your house, for example?
No.
Oh, okay.
Only from an airplane.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we can turn them on from an airplane. Okay, we'll drive on over by the fuel farm. This was a project here that was done within the last 5 or 6 years. And this also goes ahead and receives federal, state, and local funding. And this is our fuel farm right here. It's credit card. The fuel that we use is avgas, and the avgas is a minimum of 100 octane, maximum of 130 octane. And some of the people that have old cars, race cars, etc., come to the airport to buy the high octane fuel. And we have, I believe it's 12,000 gallons of avgas that is stored in that tank. Now, airports are very competitive, or they try to be, in selling fuel because, again, this helps offset the cost of the operation of the airport.
So, as I'm filming this, it's 5.39 or 5.35.9 a gallon.
That's correct.
How often does that fluctuate differently than the car?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
And it has even happened that at some times that the avgas is actually cheaper than car gas, but it is very rare.
And how many gallons are in those tanks?
That one tank there, that's about, I believe it's 12,000 gallons.
And the tank on your plane is
It holds 120 gallons.
120 gallons.
Yes. And your plane burns about little over 12 gallons of fuel per hour.
Per hour.
Yeah.
Depending on wind.
Yeah, but yes. So we always figure fuel burn is over time, and of course sometimes that speed is 160 miles an hour and sometimes it's 240 miles an hour, but the cruise speed of the airplane, airspeed wise, is about 200.
You know, that speed, it doesn't sound like, oh, it's not 500 miles an hour, but since you're flying in a pretty much straight line, that really means a lot. There's no hills and curves.
That is correct, and we usually figure 1 to 5. So for every 5 hours that it takes you to drive somewhere, it takes 1 hour to fly there.
Oh, wow!
So that's pretty much the average.
Okay, maybe we should. Anything else about that? When was this? Was this right after World War II or during?
Yes, this airport was pretty much put together right after World War II. There actually was another airport prior to this. It was on the other side of Highway 14, near where the co-tractor facility was. And then this land was bought by a flying club back in the 40s or early 50s. Then this airport was established, and excuse me, the flying club, and I'm trying to remember about what year it was. The flying club gave the airport to the city, and that reason for going ahead and doing that is then the airport qualified for state and federal funds.
Mm-hmm. So giving it from a private to a governmental entity.
Yes. So this airport is a public airport open to the public.
Yep. And how many runways? 2?
We have 2 runways. One's a grass runway, which is not used very often, but it may be used if the wind was extremely strong, and it's used mainly by airplanes that do not go very fast because the runway is very short.
Okay.
And the other runway is 3,400 feet long.
So if you had a real, I don't know my airplane models, but if you had, I can't think of his name. He built a 2-person airplane years ago, and he was flying out of here, but he probably would have used the grass one, I suppose.
Yes, yeah. A lot of the older airplanes, tailwheel airplanes that are used in the bush country prefer to use the grass runway.
Okay.
And because every single time that you touch down, you go ahead and you put some rubber from your tires on that runway.
Oh, yeah.
So, It saves on tires landing on the grass.
The tires are expensive.
Oh yeah, they are. Probably even as small as they are, maybe at least two times more than the car tires.
Wow. Okay, well, let's take a look inside. It's been a couple years.
Okay.
So anybody the pilot would have access 24/7?
That is correct. The pilot has access to this building 24/7, and to keep it from being accessed by unauthorized people, you need to enter in a code that is only known to the pilots in order to access this.
How does that pilot get the code?
He gets out of a chart.
Okay. If I remember right, this needs one too?
Is there a helicopter coming in here?
Oh.
I didn't see it.
No, I didn't see it either.
I heard it. It went right over the top of us.
Maybe on the window. And all the lights come on, I think. Up there they are. Yeah, this is nice. So this is the whole building's accessible whenever.
Yeah, 24/7.
I know people were wondering when it was built if it was going to have a restaurant, but that's just another kind of a headache or another insurance and all.
Well, the issue on the restaurant, we would have loved to have had a restaurant here, but if we would have put in a restaurant, we would not have been able to get that federal funding.
Oh, okay.
So that was the restriction right there, and that's why no restaurant was put in.
All right. Are these rooms well used? Well, I know you've had public meetings out here,
Yes, yeah.
like the airport committee.
Yes, the city council has met out here.
Yes.
Different groups have met out here. And this is a conference room. This is referred to as kind of the open area here. We have a fireplace, we have a TV.
Mm-hmm.
This is a little area where people can eat their lunch, providing that they have the food to eat.
Yep.
We have 2 bathrooms.
All accessible, of course.
Yes, handicap accessible.
Yep. One of these gizmos.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a safe room or something like that.
Yes, this is a safe room here. We had this specially built, and if you notice, it's got the picture of the tornado on it, right here.
Yep.
And that was one of the things that I insisted that we have. Boscobel has a safe room as well, a very similar terminal building built a few years prior to this. And it just seems like whenever there's a storm, they seem to take a bullseye on airports.
Huh.
So if we have a tornado, chances are it's going to aim for the airport. I don't know why that is, but it seems that way.
Has this been used or needed?
Not since it's been built.
Okay.
Nobody's had to go in here. Then this is the pilot briefing room and pilot's lounge. And there's a computerized weather system here, so pilots can come in here, they can get a weather briefing, and they can file their flight plans.
So is this just default right to the weather then, kind of a thing?
Yes, yeah, this is a system is basically set up just for the weather.
Okay.
We do have Wi-Fi in the building, so if you have your own computer with you, you can log into the airport Wi-Fi.
Yeah, occasionally does somebody have to just spend the night? Or? Whatever.
We don't know that there has been, but I know that there have been many airports where pilots get stranded because of the weather, et cetera, and end up spending the night.
And they have everything here they need.
We have everything that they need.
And the office here.
And that's the airport manager's office, Mr. Dave Fry.
Dave Fry, that's right, yep. Have you ever had quite a big, bunch of people in here at one time?
For special events, yes,
Okay.
we have.
What's the largest plane, you told me once, largest that could land here?
I think Dave said that we had something like a 20-passenger jet in here once.
Is that a turboprop or a
A
jet?
pure jet.
Wow.
Yeah. Now here's the thing is jets usually take off and land fairly normally require a fair amount of runway, so we're a little bit on the short side. But if they are light on fuel and they burn a lot of fuel and light on passengers, they can come in here. Now, one of the things that people need to know that a lot of insurance companies will not permit certain airplanes to land with less runway than 5,000 feet.
Okay.
5,000 feet seems to be the magic number.
And a mile is 5,280?
5,280
Yeah,
feet.
I remember
so figure
that.
a mile.
Yeah. But that's about the minimum for a jet, isn't it?
Takeoff and landing, if they're light, again, they can come in or go out of here.
Okay. I think that's about it then. Much nicer than the old one.
Oh, yes.
Okay, well, thank you, Mike.
Well, you're most welcome, Ben. And
We'll go for a flight sometime. I haven't been up on a plane for a long time.
well, I will take you for a ride, but I'm going to tell you my trip that I came back today, I wouldn't want anybody. It was so rough.
How rough was it?
I mean, it literally would have shook you to pieces. Put the roughest riding car on the roughest road that you've ever seen to shame.
Yeah, but you weren't on the road by
No.
mistake. You were in the air. Okay.
Yeah, in the air.
Where were you coming from?
Eagle River.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. I've been doing some training up there.
Okay.
And tomorrow I'll be training in Monroe.
Just turbulence.
Yeah, turbulence.
Oh boy, nothing you can do about that, I guess.
No.
Okay.
Well, good.
Thank you.
You're most welcome.
Well, thank you for tuning in. We hope, of course, that you'll come back next week and every week to watch our town. And this weekend out at Boaz, it's Boaz Fun Days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, something for everyone in the family. See you next week.